If you're thinking about moving to Chicago and having a hard time deciding between Lincoln Park and Lakeview, you're not alone. These are two of the most popular north side Chicago neighborhoods, and on map, they look pretty similar. They're right next to each other, divided by Division Street, both bordering lake. And most YouTube videos you'll see talk about the obvious stuff. Lincoln Park is closer to downtown, Lakeview has Wrigley Field, both are walkable, blah, 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 blah. And while all of that is true, none of it actually helps you decide which one fits your life. So in this video, I'm covering the things that really matter when you're choosing between Lincoln Park and Lakeview. Your commute, your monthly cost, the exact pocket you pick, and what your money actually buys you in each one. So let's get into it. I'm Dee Savic. I lived on Chicago's north side for 27 years, and I've been helping people buy and sell homes in Chicago for 24 years. And after helping so many buyers move to these two neighborhoods, I can tell you the biggest mistake people make. They choose based on a neighborhood name instead of how their daily life will actually feel there. So let's start with the first difference, because this is where people usually get it wrong. The easiest way to explain this difference is this. Lincoln Park feels more polished, Lakeview feels more varied. Lincoln Park has that classic established north side Chicago feel, tree-lined streets, pretty side streets, boutiques, cafes, the park, the zoo, the lakefront. It has the energy, but most of Lincoln Park doesn't feel like one big entertainment district. It feels more put together, more residential and classic. And honestly, there are streets in Lincoln Park where you can walk around for 5 minutes and immediately understand why people pay a premium to live there. Now, I'm not saying that some parts of Lakeview aren't polished, but Lakeview is different. It's bigger, it's busier, and it's much more mixed. And this is one of the biggest things people miss. Lakeview is not just one lifestyle. East Lakeview feels different from Southport Corridor. Southport Corridor feels different from Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville feels different from West Lakeview. So when someone tells me I want to live in Lakeview, my next question is always, which part? Because those pockets can feel like completely different neighborhoods. East Lakeview is denser with more high-rises, restaurants, buses, gyms, and the lakefront access. Wrigleyville has more sports bars, events, crowds, and nightlife. Southport feels more polished and neighborhood-like with boutiques, restaurants, cafes, and pretty residential streets nearby. West Lakeview is much quieter and much more residential. So the short version, Lincoln Park is more polished and classic. Lakeview gives you more variety and more energy. I'm not saying that either one is better, but they're not the same experience. Now let's talk about location and transit, because this is where people oversimplify. Yes, Lincoln Park is closer to downtown, but closer on a map doesn't always mean easier in real life. In Lincoln Park, getting around really depends on where in the neighborhood do you live. On the west side, you have a better access to Brown Line and Purple Line Express, especially around Armitage, Fullerton, and Diversey. That can make getting downtown pretty straightforward. But if you're farther east, closer to the lake, you're farther away from the train, you would probably rely more on buses, rideshare, biking, or walking or driving to the train. So when someone says Lincoln Park is better because it's closer to downtown, I always want to know, where in Lincoln Park do they mean? Because your actual commute isn't always as simple as you think. Lakeview is farther north, but depending on where you live, it can be very transit friendly. East Lakeview has a red line access and good bus service along the lakefront. Southport and West Lakeview are closer to Brown Line, so Lakeview can be extremely convenient, but the actual section where you live matters. Where I'm getting with this is that your commute comes down to exact block, not the name on the map. Where do you work? How often do you commute? Do you use the train, the bus, the car? Do you bike? Because the wrong block can make the right neighborhood feel frustrating very quickly. And this brings me to another thing that people oversimplify, that's lake access. Both Lincoln Park and Lakeview are close to the lake, but lake access does not feel the same in both neighborhoods. In Lincoln Park, the lake is a part of a bigger park experience. You have the zoo, the nature boardwalk, the park itself, North Avenue Beach, the lakefront trail, beautiful open green space. It feels like you're living near one of the best park systems in the city. And that's a huge part of why people love Lincoln Park. But depending on where you live, especially if you're farther west, the lake doesn't always feel like something you casually use every single day. It's close, but it's not always right outside your door. Lakeview is different, especially in East Lakeview. The lake can become part of your actual daily routine. You can finish work, throw on running shoes, and be on a lakefront trail in minutes. You can walk to Belmont Harbor, you can bike after work, you can take your dog to the lake, even go for a quick walk by the water without making it feel like it's a whole outing. So when people say both neighborhoods are close to the lake, while that is technically true, the experience can be completely different. Lincoln Park gives you more of the park, the zoo, and the green space, and Lakeview, especially East Lakeview, gives you more direct, everyday lakefront access. So again, it's not just which neighborhood is closer to the lake, it's how do you actually want to use the lake. Now, let's talk about housing, because that is where the difference really starts to matter. Lincoln Park has some of the most desirable housing in Chicago. Vintage condos, brownstones, graystones, row homes, townhomes, luxury new construction, beautiful single-family homes, and some of the high-rises on the east side. If someone wants that classic Chicago residential feel, Lincoln Park usually is high on that list, but Lakeview gives you more options at different price points. High-rise condos in East Lakeview, vintage courtyard buildings, walk-ups, 2 and 3 flats, townhomes, single-family homes, newer construction. So if you're a condo buyer especially, Lakeview usually gives you more range and more entry price points. Now let me show you the real numbers. At the time I'm recording this, Lincoln Park condos and townhomes medium sales price is about $710,000. In Lakeview, that is about $465,000. So yeah, there's a real gap. But that also depends on the property type, the building, the assessments, the parking, condition, and the exact pocket. On the single family side, the gap is even bigger. Lincoln Park's median single family price is about $2.625 million. Lakeview is about $2 million. Now, how competitive is each area? Year to date, Lincoln Park condos and townhomes are selling on an average of about 4% above original list price. In Lakeview, that is about 3% above. So this isn't one strong market versus a weak one. They're both very desirable. And here's where things get interesting, because that lower sticker price in Lakeview isn't always lower once you add everything up. The number that matters isn't a purchase price, it's your full monthly payment. Your mortgage, taxes, assessments, insurance, parking, all of it. And some of those lower price high rises in East Lakeview have higher assessments. So you can take a cheap East Lakeview condo with high assessments and put it next to the pricier Lincoln Park condo with low assessments, and the monthly cost ends up much closer than you thought. That is why you compare the real homes in front of you, not the neighborhood averages. And it's why the building matters just as much as the neighborhood. A great location with a bad building can become a problem. A less obvious location, but with a strong building reserves, can be a better buy. Quick pause. If you're watching this because you're trying to decide where to live in Chicago and you're stuck between Lincoln Park, Lakeview, or another Chicago Northside neighborhood, that is exactly what I help people figure out. Not just what looks good online, but what actually fits your budget, your commute, your lifestyle, and your day-to-day routine. So if you want help talking through the right move, call me or send me a text. My number is on the screen and in the description. And if you already own a home here in Chicago, but you're moving out of the city, I have a network of trusted realtors all over the country. These are people that will trust my own family with, and I would be happy to connect you with whoever you need for an honest, no pressure conversation. Here's the thing that I really want you to take from this. You think you're choosing between Lincoln Park and Lakeview. You're not. You're choosing between a very specific pocket of each neighborhood. Wrigleyville and East Lakeview are both Lakeview, but they're not the same decision. Southport Corridor and Boys Town are both Lakeview too, but they feel like a very different neighborhood. And it's the same in Lincoln Park. East Lincoln Park is completely different than West Lincoln Park. So who should choose Lincoln Park? Lincoln Park is better fit if you want to be closer downtown, but still want that real neighborhood feel. You care about classic architecture and a polished, established day-to-day. You want the park and the lake close by, and you're comfortable paying more for location and convenience. It's not the best fit if you're trying to stretch your budget and you want more space for your money. And Lakeview is the better fit if you want variety, more energy, more nightlife, more options within the same neighborhood to choose from. You can have a lakefront lifestyle or settle into a much quieter residential block. You can be right in the middle of nightlife or a few streets away from it. You can set up on the brown line or the red line. You can go high-rise or walk-up, polished or casual. That range is one of Lakeview's biggest strengths, but it's not the best fit if you want the whole neighborhood feel the same and consistent, or if you don't want the crowds and the game day energy, because it won't. In Lakeview, the exact pocket matters. Pick the right part and it's amazing. Pick the wrong part for your lifestyle and you'll wonder why everyone told you that it's such a great neighborhood. Bottom line, Both neighborhoods are great in different ways, and that's really the whole point. The right answer isn't Lincoln Park or Lakeview, it's the version of each one that actually fits your life. And that is exactly the park I can help you with. If you're thinking about moving to Chicago, moving within Chicago, or selling your home here, my contact information is on the screen and in the description. Call me or send me a text. I would be happy to help you think through the right move. And if you know someone who is trying to decide between Lincoln Park and Lakeview, send them this video. It could save them from picking from what looks good online versus what actually works for their life. And if this was helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. I'm Dee Savic. Thank you so much for watching. Keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next one.